Thank you. It is, as always, a pleasure to be here and see old friends again and meet new people. So, there's a lot of mathematics in what I'm doing. I really would be able to explain it better if I talked for about 56 minutes. And lucky for you, I've already done that. So hopefully that QR code should take you directly to the YouTube video if you want to watch the talk that I gave as part of the Celebration of Mind series, which I'm assuming we all know about. But if you're not aware that those are on YouTube, you should definitely check those out. I'm really interested in map coloring theorems, and I like to play around with them a lot. And during this talk, after I'd given a history of the four-color map theorem, I wanted to give a little bit of an idea of like how you approach showing what numbers of colors you might or might not need to color in a map so that neighboring regions have different colors. And so here is an abbreviated version of part of that talk. It was an argument for why you weren't going to get a map that needed 5 colors by just having 5 countries which all touch each other. And before this, I'd worked up to this idea that when you have an appropriate arrangement of shapes, you have the regions or faces, that's the F, and the number of edges, E, and the number of vertices, V, and there's this nice formula that says V minus E plus F equals 2 due to Euler. And so the argument here is you work out, you've got 5 faces. The number of vertices, well, you need to have at least 3 things meeting at each vertex, because otherwise, if 2 things are meeting, you're not on a vertex, you're on an edge, right? So you work out that you can squeeze at most 6 vertices out of the 20 corners that you have to play with here. Or sorry, yes, that's right, at most 6. And so from Euler's formula, the number of edges has to be less than or equal to 9, and then you just sort of consider all the edges you would need for everything to be connected to everything else, and it doesn't work. And up to this point in the talk, I was playing dumb and pretending that this is actually the rule. Some of you have probably seen the sequel of this, especially if you've been up in the exhibit rooms during this meeting, which is, this is only what happens if you're working on a plane or on a sphere, right? And so I put this in talks before, and it started to kind of bug me, because of course, you can sew 5 squares together. I'd never done that because the number of colors you actually need for the shape that you get, which is a torus, surface of a donut, is 7. And so I always just did the 7-color thing. But I went, you have to be able to do 5 squares. What would you get? And it turns out you totally can, and it's quite nice. So if I could have the Elmo here. I had already started to make some of these models with crochet granny motifs. And this, which you'll recognize from the cover of the talk, this is what you get if you take 5 granny squares and sew them together in the appropriate way. So you get a torus, you have to, right, because you can't do this on the plane. And I kind of like the shape. I'll grant, mathematically, it's a little underwhelming because you need 7 colors, so the fact that you need 5. On the other hand, one of the things that I like about this map is it turns out to be its own dual. And one way to express that is there are 5 faces, there are also 5 vertices. Each vertex has 4 squares around it, and you get all 5 of the different ways to pick 4 colors out of the 5 that you have. So I really quite like this. And it also went along with a general goal that I had to make a coordinating set of some of the earlier things. So here we have 4 triangles, which granted, not super impressive topologically, but that was part of the talk, because that was sort of an illustration of you definitely do need 4 colors. Here is what you get. And for this one, a little manipulation helps a little bit, but you really sort of have to handle it. This is 7 hexagons, and so what you get is a torus, but it sort of sits a little slanty. This is 6 pentagons. And if you play around with this and look closely, you'll notice that I didn't finish sewing it shut. I apologize, I ran out of time, which is a very obscure Lewis Carroll joke. It's impossible because you end up with a non-orientable surface, and so you can't sew it together. So for those of you who are participating in the gift exchange, you have gotten something. And with 75% probability, what you've gotten is a fleece version, because crocheting it takes too long, of the 5 squares. So this is just 5 fleece squares that have been sewn together, and you can sort of manipulate it to get whatever colors you prefer to appear more or less on the outside. If you didn't get these, then you might have gotten a kit to allow you to make your own version of the pentagonal purse. Here's a bigger one that I sewed on a sewing machine, and so you can sort of manipulate that nicely. Or a hexagon purse. That's an example of how you could sew that. It is an illusion, because I didn't actually finish. But you know, if you tuck it away, you don't know. And so, yeah, so that's what I'm offering. I have a site online where the instructions will appear. And if we could go quickly back to the slides. Of course, I really wanted to get 15 into this. And it turns out that if you do the appropriate calculations, these graphs or these maps are particularly regular. 15 countries, very regular map. I really wanted to do that. 12 is the next one that you can do orientable and regular. That's my first attempt. I needed to make the crochet pieces bigger. That's the second attempt. My yarn store really likes me. Then I had to buy more yarn. That's my third attempt. Not quite there yet, but hopefully I will get it eventually. And thank you very much.